Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. And I said good afternoon. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Today is July the 6th. Welcoming everyone to our Facebook Live Q&A. Today we have on with us, after a few weeks, we have April, who is a psychic, and she has quite a few modalities of healing and a spiritual teacher here with us. Good evening, April. We also have Caesar with us, who is a channel and a spiritual teacher. Good evening, Caesar. And after a week or so, we also have Marla. Good evening, Marla. And
Hi.
Patricia's here as well with us. They're part of our core group of meditators, and Michelle and Ken. Sorry, I had to cough, so I put myself on mute. I'm going to pull up the question. This question comes from Nada. And I'm not sure how much it's going to paste in the... It pastes completely. So what she says is, the way I'm perceiving life situations and events is so different than before. An event after event, and how I'm responding to those events is just amazing. One main thing that I see as a miracle is my ability to let go of wanting to control the outcome of anything, whether it is a relationship, meeting, even a simple phone call. If you can touch on this in the Q&A session, it is just that sometimes I feel that this has gone too far, in the sense that it makes people around me think that I don't care about anything anymore. I love the idea of flowing with the river, but is this practical in today's life where everything is calculated? I'm not sure, but if I was able to articulate my question right. In general, I feel I am just a watcher of whatever is happening in life, and just responding and letting go without any desire to control how it is going. April, did you want to get started on this? And I'll tag everyone on the Facebook Live. You want to answer it? Thank you.
Yeah. So different than before. So I think I feel that this is going too far in the sense that it makes think that I've seen this happen, like with Eckhart in his stories that he shares, where it seems that maybe he should have a certain emotion or a certain perception that he doesn't have. And it almost seems as though maybe he doesn't care. But really, what it is that it's that radical acceptance. It is that being with one, and understanding that everything is perfectly designed, and that nothing is really happening to you or to us. And everything is supposed to be as it is. So it's really connecting with that space, with that energy of being one with the universe, with all the things that are happening, and leaving the emotions out of it, leaving the should haves, the why is this happening, why is it not happening, leaving all that out of it puts you in this space where and I have experienced this myself, which I have to kind of watch, because especially in my profession, it's not that I'm not caring, I am caring, but I see people who are going through so much turmoil and so much trouble and chaos, and they really do have quite a bit of pain. But when you have this awakening, when you have this understanding that you are all, you are connected with everything, that you are perfectly well, that you are, everything is exactly as it's supposed to be, then when you see somebody else struggling, you know that they have to have the struggle to get where they need to go. Does that make sense? So it's not that you don't care about them and you don't have compassion for them, but you know it's part of the process. So it seems maybe like we don't care, but it's almost like the parent looking at the child in a way. That's kind of an example of a parent looking at a child, and you watch the child go through some sort of trouble. You're standing back. You could give all the advice, but you know they have to experience this to learn it, right? So I think that's what I love the idea of flowing with the river, but is this practical in today's life where everything is calculated? Well, I think it's perhaps practical. It's not practical in this society. However, I think it is very necessary. It is required. It is a space that you need to be in to survive today's calculated world, chaotic world, rapidly changing world. So I think it is a good space. I would stay in that space. I would continue the practice that she has. I would continue that practice. And having compassion, Eckhart explains that you can still have compassion and you can still care, but what you're doing is you're seeing past the drama, past the pain, past the chaos, and you're seeing the soul and you're watching the soul evolve in the moment. And you're okay with that. And you're sending love and healing, and you know that it's okay. So I would continue with the practice, even though it seems not practical. It's actually exactly what you need to do, what we all need to do. So I'll start there. We got quite a big group.
So it almost is, April, like she now is what we would call in her presence power. And she's allowing things to be just as they are. And that's the right place to be. To come from that connection to source, than trying to calculate, like what she says, right? We don't need to calculate what the next step is going to be. Like Eckhart says, right? It is better to dwell in the unknowable, or dwell in the unknowingness of it all, which is what presence power is. And in the unknowingness, just like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, right? Be in the unknown. And the more we co-create from that space of the unknown, the more we create with consciousness, or it becomes a conscious manifestation, right? We are one with planetary intelligence. Isn't that true?
Yeah, and it's about your intention, the intention that you set to be with presence power. Joe Dispenza talks about it. Abraham Hicks talks about it. Michael Singer actually talks about a lot about how just being in this presence power and allowing life to just flow and unfold, that it will actually bring everything and more to you. I think Wayne Dyer also talked about that. So it doesn't have to be calculated. That doesn't mean we don't do anything ever, but to worry about it and to have to plan it all out and it has to go this way, certainly that's not a good practice. That you will be better off being in the present moment and allowing the universe to flow with you, and will bring you what you need.
Beautiful. Thank you. And since you brought up Dr. Wayne Dyer, in his movie, I don't know if it was a movie not so much as a movie. I think it was like a, short film, and he labeled it, The Shift. It may be a book of his. In that, uh, little short film, he talks about, we are. I can't exactly remember the words, but he says, we are also connected to all that is missing from our life. I've never forgotten that sentence, right? In that presence power, not only are we connected to all that is there in our life, but we are also connected to all that is missing in our life, right? So I guess she's getting to that point where she is connected to that presence power, seems like. Thank you so much, April. Caesar, did you want to say something about this? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so what a beautiful thing too. Yeah, and it is almost like a miracle. And this is what we strive for, is this peace and this joy of however it comes. And what a better way than to just allow things to be and not have any expectation of the outcomes. Because we know we're really not in control of a whole lot. Um, and as for the people around you, uh, definitely don't alter anything that you're doing and try to, you know, not be in that space to, try to make somebody else understand. If they're close to you, they will eventually understand and want to get some of that, what you have. This is the influence of what this is all about. It's like the influential journey, and you are the experience and they are the witness to it. And hopefully there's going to be a connection and somebody else may wake up and shift as well because of this. So this is a beautiful thing, and that's such a positive um, thing, no matter how you look at it. So yeah, definitely not don't change anything. This is what we strive for, and it's such a serene, beautiful, blissful, amazing joy. And it's somewhat, I find it somewhat exciting and surprising when um, things turn out however they turn out. It's always like a surprise to me because I don't have no a predicated idea of what the outcome is supposed to look like. Um, so everything's like a big surprise, and in that sense, you are vibing high, my friend. Um, Even though it's like this cool, calm, serenity that you feel, the vibrational frequency that you're putting out is just, you're on that high flying disc. And that is where you allow more of this to come in, because of the state in which you vibrate. So yeah, hats off to you. Congratulations. And yeah, just continue on, carry on the journey. You're definitely, this is what we make our strives for.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Caesar. And it is okay to be a non-conformist, not to conform to everybody's, oh, we need to know what we are about to do. That would be more the ego, right? Controlling the outcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too. I can totally relate to the people around her in looking at this or her or this person as if they don't care, because it is such a carefree state that you're in. You really, in a sense, you almost don't care, but you really do. It's not a matter of not caring, but it is a carefree state. And again, it's like, don't try to appease other people. Don't look for the validation from other people to try to, shift to get back in there. Like I said, the people that are close to you with just a little bit of, guidance, your words will flow beautifully when needed, when somebody questions it. Um, that if you're in this space, the proper words at the proper time will come through and will have a huge impact. Maybe not right away, maybe down the road, but your words will be very powerful in influencing others in this way. That piece is undeniable.
You know, this reminds me, Sadhguru says, like, when you are in that state, you jump in with both feet. You are so involved in what you're doing. It's not in not caring. You are 200%, 400% in the event or whatever is unfolding in front of you because you're in that state, right? So, and it's more like the fearlessness of non-attachment. Since we are not attached to the outcome of what is going to happen, there's a courage and the fearlessness. It's okay. If this happens, then it's okay. Like Byron Katie says, right? She was going to, her best friend was passing away. So she was, I think it's in the book, 1,000 Names for Joy. She was driving in Germany. Her best friend was passing away, and she found this person who would drive her to that place wherever he was passing away. And she said, either I make it or I don't make it. Both ways are perfect, right? And sure enough, this person, what they did was they had their own agenda and they delayed her by taking a detour. So she didn't reach that place on time, and that person had actually passed away. And she said she held that person in her arms, and that was perfect, right? Not watching him pass away. So yes, that detachment is necessary. So beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Caesar, that pointer. I was going to go to Ken real quick because I don't know when he's going to lose his signal. So Ken, did you want to quickly say something about this? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's amazing. Tonight is the first time I feel like you're in the next room. And this is so much about the energy. I can't believe, and first I want to say about what we're talking about. I feel like the person that wanted affirmation and wanted our input, she's in such a good place. It's amazing. She's being so blessed. And I feel in so many ways I'm going through the exact same thing. I feel like we all are. And for me, it's something when I'm in the right vibration. And what I mean by right vibration is that I'm letting go. I'm in presence. That's the right vibration. And when I'm in that presence, it's amazing how things just come to me. And it's something where, and I know so much about the people that's familiar in your life. And when we make those changes, and I know for years now, I've committed myself to do the work. And I can't believe how many times I had to let people go. It was either stay there and meet them where they're at, where I wouldn't grow. And if I don't allow myself to grow, I don't feel good. I'm not in flow. So I'm learning more and more that I'm here to get to a higher level of consciousness. And I have to learn a new way of being, and that's letting go of attachments. And more, I have to let go of my human attachments. I have to let go of the past. And so many things will come up when at the right time to deal with letting go or it's all about moving forward. And I'm now, if I walk in the woods, if I'm around people where I'm at now, I have no one to take care of other than myself. I have no one to turn to. It's amazing how many fears I've had to confront, minor ones. And I'm like, okay. And now I'm having this loving conversation with myself. And I'm seeing, just like the lady had said, in so many ways, people are reacting around me, people that I know. And it does, it comes across to them because that's what they're familiar with. And that's what they need to learn. That's their path, their journey. And I'm learning I just got to be me. And I can see in so many ways I haven't been me. The fear or the attachments that I've had have been running my life. And I'll stay stuck. I'll get sick. I won't feel good. I'll get stomach aches. I'll make excuses. And I'm realizing that I'm having the more courage to be me. And when I let go, I can't believe so many things I'll think about, and all of a sudden, they're right there. And it's every day, more and more is coming. And a big reason why I did this trip of going by myself was to confront the fears, was so that uncomfortability is exactly what I need to embrace. And so I'm just so grateful and so blessed when these different things come up. And being in presence, it enhances my senses. It's like everything is getting better. I'm taking care of myself better. It's almost like there's something inside of me that is just welcoming me. And I don't have to think. All I have to do is show up and ask for what I want. And if it's coming from the heart, if it's coming from a really good place, it's different. If it comes from my ego, it doesn't show up. So it's just an incredible understanding of how things work. And so I'm, again, just very thankful. And so thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Ken, thank you. I think Kelly and Kelly are here. They finally joined after a few weeks as well. So good evening, Kelly and Kelly, our one and only Qigong teachers and spiritual teachers on the panel. I did repost the question. So if you all want to respond to Nada, the question comes from Nada.
It's a very interesting question. To me, this is a pretty basic state of actual observation, being in the state of observation and having stepped out of the pre-programmed fight or flight or freeze instincts or reflexes that we are generally programmed with. This is awesome that this person has actually achieved this state and is wondering, yeah, like, you know, what Caesar said about, you know, don't worry about what other people think.
Mhm.
I mean, I know for myself, I kind of had to learn how to relate to people when I first started encountering and experiencing this space of observation. And the more the space of observation became normal, the more I had to just accept that people wouldn't understand and that people around me would sort of misunderstand that, you know, my space of observation wasn't uncaring, it was just unattached ego-wise to the events around me. And this is, you know, a perfect description. This question is really sort of kind of more like, hey, am I like going crazy or like what's going on? And you know, the best part of this is how well this person actually articulates their experience. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's right on the money in terms of actually being in that space of observation, being, you know, present with yourself, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of other people, but also not getting pulled into the drama, pulled into the projections of other people, and pulled into the events outside of oneself. And this is the whole point of being present, emotionally, mentally, spiritually present, is to actually be in tune with this space, which naturally exists within all of us, in all of our hearts, we all have this space. It's sort of where, you know, the whole concept in Buddhism where people, you know, Buddha says, well, people just have to wake up to their own Buddhahood. And this is basically that space of observation, of understanding that there is no need to be attached egoistically to an event outside of ourselves. There is no need to be drawn into drama or defeated. And there's nothing wrong with not participating. And this is also sort of, I guess, the question that this person has, like, is there something wrong with me? It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. This is where most people misunderstand this type of progression. It's not that people stop caring, it's that they have separated themselves from the old way of operating in ego attachment to such an extent that they no longer, you know, people around them will register that something's different.
Well, because when you change caring with your ego to caring with your heart, it's very different.
Yep.
Because your ego wants to know what the outcome is going to be, or wants to control something. And so it doesn't mean that you don't care about things. Like, I remember when I hit this space a few times in different levels, it was like, I feel like I don't care. And then I had a hard time figuring out how to operate myself, like in my life, because I didn't have that ego motivation and that drive to do whatever it is that I, you know, thought I wanted to do, but I still wanted to do it. And then trying to navigate that, because now you're coming from more of a heart-centered space. So you care, when you care with your heart, it's very different than when you care with your ego.
Yeah, because most often people are stuck in the program of projecting outward that they care, and demonstrating by doing all these complicated things to prove and validate to their ego, their own ego and other people's ego, that they actually care, when actually when you step into yourself and into your heart, you have way more love to give, way more support to give, way more energy to give, because you're not actually giving it away to the projections. You're not giving it away to the drama. You're not giving it away to the complicated ego attachments that are complicated, because our ego loves to stress us out with all the complications. So being in observation, being present with ourselves and in observation is very different. It's a very different feeling. I know for myself, it's like a clear indication that something had really shifted was me, one day going to put my winter boots on and looking, I put them on my feet, and then I looked down at them and I could see the laces with my eyeballs, but I didn't understand what they were.
How to tie your shoes.
So I literally had to relearn how to, even though I knew how to tie my shoes, I had to talk myself through it, because the space of observation can feel so different. My connections to certain things, certain basic things, changed so dramatically that I had to basically teach myself how to do certain things again while I even knew how to do them, like basically tying my boots and putting my jacket on to go outside in the cold. It's like
Step one.
step one, tie my shoes. It's like, wait, I know how to do this. Like, it was literally, the thought process was just that disconnect, right? So what I'm talking about, I'm using this as an example to explain the emotional disconnect when you actually step into yourself and step into observation and you step away from that ego attachment. The emotional disconnect can be so clear, can be so different. Everything can feel so different that, from my experience, my personal experience was of literally not remembering how to tie my own shoes until I did it a couple times and went, oh yeah, I actually do know how to do this. But it's just like literally like looking at my boots and going, what are those string things? So, but
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah, and just to with that part of the question or comments that the person was making, that other people think you don't care.
Mhm.
Like everyone said, just you can't care what they think. But also when you're holding that space for yourself and you're not participating in what they think you should be participating in energetically, that it causes a little bit of friction. Like for them.
Yep.
And they don't really understand. But the more you just keep holding that space for yourself, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, because like everyone already said, people will eventually respond to that. Maybe they'll spend less time with you, or maybe they'll just shift in their own way because they understand that you still care. You're just not caring in the same way or the way that they think you should care.
Yep.
And we don't have to care about something in the same way as everyone else.
Oh,
I like that end part, Kelly, that we don't have to care about everyone else. It reminds me of a Rupert Spira video on forgiveness. Some lady asking that her children should forgive her, right? And him taking her back to her, who are you in your true essence? And the moment you operate from that field of your true essence, who you are, and I'm paraphrasing here, something will shift. Instead of you thinking that my children should forgive me, if you let go of that thought that your children should forgive you, they will eventually, it may not be all 3 children will forgive you, at least one will forgive you, because a shift in our consciousness shifts the world around us,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So I
Mhm.
like that. Thank you. And I also got Kelly's that you are unattached, just like April said. When we like when we answer the question, we don't get drawn into the pain body of the other, right? We are so almost stoic, and the other person may think that we are not feeling, but we are feeling everything. It's just that we don't want, we have enough presence power not to get pulled into the drama of it, right? So since we have so many questions, I'm going to switch the question to the next one, which is can you ask the panel their thought about die before you die? That, and this derivation comes from the statement, death is a stripping away of all that is not you. The secret of life is to die before you die and find that there is no death. Nothing was real ever died, only names, forms, and illusions. So Marla, did you want to get started on the second question, which is, can you ask the panel their thoughts about die before you die?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. That was a hard one for me in the beginning. That required processing of months to get. I'm still not sure I completely get it, and probably wouldn't unless I felt my life threatened. And then I would, if I thought I had some illness that I could really see was going to be life-threatening, then I think I would get it. Because, and I, being, I don't know, maybe it's an expectation, but I feel like at 74, I probably have at least 20 years, but I feel like I have a lot less than I used to. And so I feel some edge of mortality there. And I guess that I have come to such a place of trusting in the universe, just basic trust, that whatever happens is going to be okay, whatever. And of course I'm going to die. Of course, we all kind of know that in the back of our minds. But as I let go of the things that I used to care about a lot, like how perfect my house was I eating exactly the right foods? Was it good enough? Those kinds of things. I spent a lot of time getting myself organized so I could get everything I needed to do in life done. And then I would do my little checklist and check it all off. I let go of all that. And not only am I more peaceful, but I realized I didn't need any of that in the first place. And I'm dying to a lot of things I thought I used to need. Relationships too. And I know that's not the most spiritual answers, but that's how it has come about in my particular life. I don't need certain outcomes. I don't need for my daughter to do this. I don't need for my children to behave in a certain way. I don't need a lot of things that as humans we think we need. One can get by with a lot less than we think we can. And even if we don't think we can get by, we will. We will. So I have that trust, and I guess that's the way it plays out in my life.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marla. And thank you, Kelly and Kelly, if I didn't thank you. Michelle, did you want to talk about this? Can you ask the panel the thoughts about die before you die?
Yeah, I think this idea of die before you die is the death of the ego, right? Because that's what lives in this plane. So our attachments to our roles, our possessions, our education, our religion, our nationality, race, gender, to kind of disidentify. So it kind of relates a little bit to Nada's feeling of, letting go of any expectation of any type of outcome. And you're kind of like, that is the sweetest spot you could live in, right? So when you're letting go of all those identifications, you're stripping away that conditioned ego entity. And what's left is pure presence, right? And that's what, when we physically die, that's what we go back to. And so the beauty is when you meet death at its door, which we obviously are going to be there, that you welcome it with open arms, saying, okay, I'm ready to go on, because if you don't, then you're going to suffer. You don't want to let go of, you're not going to take anything with you, right? Everything goes away. So if you could strip that away before you're forced to do it, you're going to suffer less. I think the hardest part is probably our loved ones, right? Letting go of them and them letting go of us, right? That's probably the last layer, but a lot of people, when they identify with their form, their physical form, their beauty, their, how many businesses aren't marketed to that fear, right? That you're not good enough, you're not, pretty enough, you're not enough, so that they can sell you these products so that you'll be more of the ego. But being more of the ego only gets you trapped further into this game. So it's about going in the reverse and not caring about what society thinks you should care about, and being okay with that and liberated. That's freedom. So I think it relates a lot to Nada's question, it's phrased in a different way, but it goes hand in hand, And I think our work is kind of like, right, that we always say that spiral staircase, kind of like the DNA structure, right? Like all of nature has these patterns, is for us to kind of little by little, as we walk on the journey, is the stripping away of all of that, I grew up in a very conditioned household where, and I know many of us did, right? Like your education, oh, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer. So, they're valued more because of their title or their education or their possessions, And I know people that have many possessions. Possessions beyond what most people live with, and they're not happy. They live in stress all the time, hyper stress mode, and ill, and dealing with a gazillion problems, and they are living in a self-enclosed prison. They don't even see it. They don't even see the door to get out, because they're so attached to this identity. So when you're able to free yourself of all these identifications, there's freedom, sweet, sweet freedom. For me, it's been a beautiful journey to say, you know what? I'm going to clean my cabin today. I'm going to do that. And it doesn't diminish me because I'm cleaning cleaning up after people. I don't care what people think, you know, it's fine, you know. So, you know, it's just about feeling very comfortable in your own skin, right? And shedding all those layers off. And then you're ready as you know, and everybody will arrive there, I guess, in a different way, but to be able to die before the ego and you know, just be bare to your bare presence, bare essence, and to be able to leave this world that way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. I think both Marla and you hit on that piece, right? That death is a stripping away of all that is not you, and all that is not you is all these material things like places, cars and the house and the good stuff, the material things, the handbags, the shoes, the dresses, the outfits, all that is not you. So death is a stripping away. So when we are passing away, we get stripped of all that was not us. And the secret of life is to die before you die, is to know that all these were identifications, be identified, more like a compulsion. And like you said, Michelle, the greatest compulsion is relationships, right? Can we live without our son, or can we live without our daughter? Can we live without our partner? Can we live without our whatever, mother or father, whatever the relationship may be? Like Byron Katie says, I'm married to Stephen Mitchell. I'm married to Stephen until I'm not married to Stephen. Right? I'll hold his ring on my finger as long as I'm married to him. And she knows that the other part, that other polarity of him not being there, or the marriage falling apart, is also, it also exists, that other polarity exists. So the secret to life is to know of that, like you said, like what Nada was saying, right? Like if we come from that presence, that eternal self, that which does not die, ever die, that continues to live, that was there with us when we were a 1-month-old baby, the 2-month-old baby, the 1-year-old, 2-year-old, that eternal self, if we get to know our eternal self, then we have died before we died, right?
It's interesting to be the witness of how to witness your own reactivity. So when I'm separated from a loved one for a long period of time, it's a practice for me to look at that and say, this is temporary, but at one point it will be permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is, for me, I know I still have that, right? I mean, I could see the attachment there, right?
Mhm.
I'm witnessing it, I'm seeing it,
Yes.
you know.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Patricia, you're next. If you want to answer either of those questions, and then we'll go to April with the die before you die and find there is no death.
Thank you. I really enjoyed all the answers. Incredible. I like hearing two stories, how each one of you went through very similar thing and how the journey was. And thank you, Nada and Hugh, for asking, because it seems like two different questions, but Michelle mentioned there is really one kind of becomes of the other. I mean, in order to get to the point when you don't mind what happens, you got to die before you die. I mean, that process of stripping away of what's not you through experiences and observation gets you to that I actually being in the present moment and not needing to control anything. because you're not your programming. You're not the reaction. You also know that there is truly no the other. You're just relating to yourself because we are all one. So it's really, it's interesting how it takes the loop, from, in order to get there, you have to die before you die. And to do that every day, you need to get that presence in you, the presence power that allow you to observe yourself and disconnect and next thing away. And I was at that moment when I thought that I wouldn't care about anything, and why would I even live and have experiences if I'm not any of it? But then a lot of people had the similar question and were asking Eckhart as well, even on those YouTube recordings and meetings. And there was the same thing that even you, Poonam, say, you honor the human form, but without attachment to it. You play, like Caesar said, you enjoying everything because everything is fun and exciting, because you get the experience that we are here for, just to be creative and playful and experience different things, and even experiencing so-called negative emotions when you realize you're still experiencing your being. So they're becoming good too, because then you have the entire variety and you just don't get attached and identified with them. And this is that getting to that I, when Rupert Spira talks about in his teachings, when you realize that what you are is that awareness, and you're not need to control anything because you're not any of it. You're just observing it, but you're still actively in it, but you also the person that is above it. I mean, not the person, it's the totality, that presence, that stillness in which each one of those emotions and events happens. This is a very incredible place to be. And the story that Kelly was talking about, shoelaces, I absolutely loved. You, in that moment, were so fresh that you even forgot the programming about a very useful thing. I mean, it's like, let's just strip everything. It must have been such an incredible moment of blankness, absolute blankness. Like, in this moment, I'm completely fresh. I don't know my name. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to tie my boots. So it's incredible that, we get to experience those things, and seeing how even experiencing death of a beloved ones, which I went through this year, and many of us had events in our lives that someone very close to us passed on. And the practice of presence, and even listening to Rupert Spira's video about that, helped me so much. And that's the most practical thing I can think of. So Nada's question, is it not practical not to care? No. That's the practice. That's the most practical thing we can do. And yes, other people will try to pull us back in our old selves because they still see us through the eyes of other reality almost. They don't understand, I guess, yet that there's something changed. And they will still try to pull us back because that's what they're familiar with. It's like, what do you mean you're not yelling? Or like Ken's people's like, what do you mean you're not doing certain things, right? Or they initially can, but there is something so attractive about it. I think that with times we are becoming the light and showing the way. If Patricia didn't react and didn't freak out, it made everything so much better. Wow. It's like, I think it will, communicate with that part in them that it's like the same light that we have, because each one of us have that. So the ego will try to get it to the back, the same stuff. And I think that the question, even when I first read Nada's question, it's almost like a little bit the ego trying to get in the back door. Yeah, it's sweet, you're being better, you're feeling better, but that's not practical. So I would just sit with maybe Nada, maybe it's good for you would be to just sit with that. Who in me is worried that it's not practical? Who still is asking, the controlling way, it's better to be controlling, to fit in, versus to experience this sweet life and being more alive and more present. I mean, that's in itself, right? It's the answer. Yet one more just quick thing. When I was here listening to all of you, for me, being in that moment, I needed first to gain trust. I couldn't just let go. I couldn't just mentally die before I die, even though I understood the concept. But that was all I knew, I thought. It's like, how can I let go? I'm not letting go of this because this is, how I lived, how I survived to that moment. I learned a lot of things. I learned how to tie my shoes. I learned how to read. I learned, it's like, how am I not identified through it? This is all my experiences that I gain, and this is my treasures. So if I let go, what's going to happen? I didn't even want to think of that possibility before I worked on the trust. And in order to gain the trust, I did meditate. I did ask for angels' help. I mean, grace, because I just couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't jump, without knowing if the parachute will open. So I needed the trust first, and then starting to let go of things would just happen. And it was grace. And I think Marla also had those experiences that the grace got her through things. And so there is something much greater than us. And it's us. I mean, we are part of it. So that's the moment of realization. But these are amazing questions, yes. So thank you so much for asking them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Patricia. A thought arose, but now it disappeared. So out of what you were going to say, something arose and then now it disappeared.
So now I'll give you a trick how to do it. Think of what I was doing or what I was saying when the thought was arising. Like if you trace back, or
I think it's become like the past moment, so it's already forgotten.
Yeah, because when I was getting ready, with which one of you talking, the taste of the death for me was going to sleep. Every night, your body, you just go to sleep, you lie down, and you kind of have the trust that you're gonna wake up, and that you're gonna wake up exactly in the bed you're lying in. But that's like, I think just that going to die, because you leave your body, it separates, right? You separate from your body, then it doesn't matter what bed you're in, who is lying next to you, what your name. You're just going to sleep as pure something. None of those things that we do when we are alive matters. We go there. So, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Patricia. April, did you want to talk about this? I'll go around to you, Kelly, and Ken, because you all didn't talk about the die before you die. So,
Well, I'm not sure what I could add. Essentially, this is a like Buddhist type Zen theory, die before you die. It is essentially what everybody said, which is separating from your ego and your attachments, your identities, and understanding that you are immortal. You always have been. I think, and you know, the same thing happened to me, Poonam, is that when Patricia was talking, a thought came and then I lost it. Same thing. I was like, oh, I want to say something about that. And I tried to think, like, what was she saying? Can't, it's gone.
yes.
Same thing happened. So I think this question is similar to the other question, as far as being like in your presence power, not being attached to things, not reacting. As I was saying earlier, I've had clients who have, and I've had to catch myself because, and I think Eckhart, I've watched him do that. And Poonam, you and I actually did this to Patricia like a few months ago. She was asking a certain question and we both kind of chuckled.
Mhm.
And then we stopped chuckling because we're like, oh,
She's
being
gonna think we're insensitive.
we're insensitive, right? But it's because we're in a different space and we're not connected to the pain.
Mhm.
But as people are going through these things, they're still connected to the pain. They don't see them as, you know, like the chaos is the opportunity. They don't see them as growth opportunities, as life is just happening, as evolution. We see them as this pain, this traumatic event, and I'm so hurt. And it takes a matter of changing our perception. And in order to die before you die, you have to change your perception, which is basically what's been said here. But you have to see it in a different way. And that's one of the things that I have to be very careful. I have to be very mindful. I have to be very careful when I'm working with people, especially when it centers around death. And I've experienced death. My brother committed suicide. My grandmother was actually murdered. My mother has passed. So it's not that I haven't experienced death, but now when I experience it, it's not that I'm not sad. However, I have a completely different perception. When Abraham Hicks said that you should throw a party for them that passed, like that is like, you should throw a party. You know, they are on the other side. They are whole, they are well. But this die before you die is literally dying of the ego. That's what it is. And if you think about death, it's actually our greatest teacher. And it teaches us gratitude. It teaches us to appreciate waking up in this world versus, oh my God, another day. Oh, I got to do all this again. I got to, you know, so it teaches you that gratitude. Death is one of our greatest teachers. Teaches you to appreciate, it helps to change your perception when you're facing death. Nothing that was real ever died. That is true. So the nothing that was real ever, nothing that's real ever dies. That again is learning your true essence. Your true essence is that you are part of source. That's what Patricia said. You are part of source and you are always part of source. And that can't be, you cannot disconnect from that. So if you are, that is the part that cannot die. That's what Eckhart talks a lot about. The true essence of yourself cannot actually be killed. And if you stay connected with that true essence, you will have that presence power. But Patricia, what you said was, oh, see, I lost it again. I must not be supposed to talk about it. I lost it again, dang it.
It was
Come
connection
on, I
to
need
source.
it. Give it, give it, give it, give it. I'm gonna pull it out of you. Come on.
You're saying something about connection to source.
Yeah, I lost it again. I must not supposed to be say it or something. But it was being connected to source and I don't remember.
What about
So
it wasn't about dreaming, going to sleep, nothing like that.
well, that is true. However, we're connected with that silver cord, and until that cord is severed, whatever, how do you want to say it, you will be pulled back into your body. I don't know. Maybe I'll send this to Kelly, and you guys can bring up what the thing I keep forgetting. So energetically, I'm going to add in, like with the, Caesar, Kelly, they also have these abilities. You can't kill energy. So what is real cannot die. It can only transform, and it can only go into a different space, a different dimension. You can't actually kill the true essence of yourself. And death is also, it's a transition. It also allows you the grace of being able to go back to the other side to see what you have learned, and then get the opportunity to come back and experience again, life again, and to evolve again, and to grow again. So when you learn to see death as, it's different. It doesn't hurt as much. When you do this die before you die, you get into a space where you have the perception the person was talking about before. These questions are connected. You are in that space where you're not attached, you're able to observe, you have understanding, compassion for everything, but you are not attached to anything. However, you see everything through the eyes of source, which is love.
The other part to it, April, isn't it that the die before you die, the dying is more of a understanding that we had a soul contract. Whatever happened to us, the events that happened to us, we understand the perfection of the events that happened to us in the past. Instead of suffering our past, we turn, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, we turn it into wisdom, right? Because we understand the perfection in the abandonment. We understand the perfection in the killing or the abuse or whatever it may be of our past.
Yeah, and that is part of the ego and the attachments and the identities and, the culture. And I have many, numerous, can't even, and I even am guilty of this when I was younger, but I really can't even tell you how many people I hear, well, they were my mom, so they should have been loving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they are a human and they are on a soul journey. And
Yes.
they're at their level of evolution. So it is absolutely about, your soul's plan. And so that is just another attachment. That's an attachment to my life should have went this way.
Mm-hmm.
I should not have had to go through these things. And when you do learn to accept those, then again, you are able to go into that presence power and you accept. And you let go of all that pain, all that baggage.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. And Abraham Hicks calls dying, like the physical death, a croaking experience, because she wants to make it so light, right? That it's not that heaviness of, oh my God, my loved one died. She calls it
Yeah.
the croaking experience.
Her the favorite one that she also, the thing is that, you know, and we are kind of experiencing this a little bit in my family with my grandson, but it's that song, you know, that what's the name of that song that's out? If One More Day, you know, and the other one where there's a song where it talks about dying and it says they want to go, you know, what is, you ride the bulls. You ride the bulls, you know, that what is the name of the song, you guys? There's
I'm
a
not
song
into
where
pop culture. I'm not into pop culture, so I wouldn't
there's
know.
a song where he's basically saying that he's dying, and it says basically live like you're dying and go and live and experience all these things. Allow yourself and your soul to be free as if you're going to die,
Mhm.
instead of I have to get up and have to go to work and have to do this and have to do, right? Actually allow yourself to be free, to experience life, to enjoy life
Mhm.
is the other
Yeah,
part.
there is that practice that I think that was Thich Nhat Hanh that was telling that, you know, when you wake up, you say, you know, you smile and you say, oh my gosh, I have 24 new hours to live. May I, you know, live it fully and look at others with eyes of compassion. It's like that the first moment when you wake up is that gratitude and enjoyment of life. That's why it's just being fresh in every moment, fresh and light and free and courageous. Like what Ken did, you know, going alone, that takes present power because he knows that he is not all this physical stuff. He is so much more. So the courage came from that. Yeah.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Patricia. Caesar, did you want to talk about this die before we die?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think everybody has really touched on it pretty well. You know, it's the energy thing that gets me there. You know, first and foremost, we are vibrational beings, and we are also an extension of source energy. And like April says, energy doesn't die; it either transmutes or transforms. And having said that, that is the realization that there is no death. Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, and it is a very liberating feeling um, to have this realization, because most people have the greatest fear within them is death. So that for me personally was very powerful. It was very, you know, freeing and liberating, and it's been the topic of my almost every other conversation the last few days with some clients that I'm actually working with. We were talking about the journey, and this actually came up, and it was it was no wonder why we're talking about it here today. But yeah, it is a beautiful realization, and you know, to die before you die, like April said, it is just the death of the ego and all of the stripping away of all that you are not. And then, as Patricia said, you know, we are the awareness. You know, becoming aware that we are the awareness. So yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that than just you know, the way I always explain it is just that think of yourself as this little speck of light, you know, witnessing all that is. And when the body ceases to continue, what happens? Nothing. You still remain all that you are. So when you have the realization of what you are, you can better understand this, and that there is no death. And again, that's a liberate, and life changes at that point too. Once you really realize that, it almost seems like everything you do is done a little differently in a sense, because this no more has, you know, people have bucket lists, and I want to do this before I die, and I want to do that before I die, Sure, them are all great things, and of course we should have, goals and aspirations, to that please us, and at the same token, you mentioned Abraham Hicks, and she always talks about, life as a buffet. You're not going to take the things off the, what's in the buffet that are not pleasing to you and put them on your plate and then go back to the table and be like, oh, I hate crap these. I don't like these, and complain about it. Give your attention to that which makes you feel good. Only take what's pleasing. And I know it can't be like that all the time, but yes, it can, because you are in control of what you give your attention to. And that is one thing I know we are in control of where we place our focus and our energy. And if we are in the moment, it's pretty easy to focus on whatever the contents are in that moment. So yeah, and like I said, just that's always in the back of my mind, that yeah, there is no death, and it's just, like I said, very extremely liberating, and things are done a little differently today because of it, and it also helps in, dealing with, when somebody transitions. Makes it very easy, and it goes back to that first question about people almost think like you don't even care this person died. Sometimes when a close friend passes, I might post it, just so my friends know if they want to go tend to, or contribute something they can, and then I usually delete the post. And one of the questions I always get is, how did he die? Well, I always say his heart stopped beating, and they go, no, did he get in a car accident? Was it drugs? His heart stopped beating. he ceased to breathe. But it doesn't matter. Then you want to get into that whole thing. Well, he really didn't die. He just transitioned, and that's so sad. Well, no, it's kind of like we envy, on this side, about, what's the other side, or the unmanifested, is another word for that, another name for it. But just beautifully, everybody has touched on this magnificently.
You've been magnificent as well, Caesar. Thank you so much for that pointer. Abraham Hicks, what she says is, or actually it's Abraham channeled through Esther. So she says, when a person passes away, it's like they are immediately in alignment, right? So why is the passing away such a difficult thing? So instead of us working, doing our meditation, doing this presence practice, doing our qigong, or doing our yoga, whatever presence practices we use to develop presence power, instead of all that, that person immediately, within that one decision to pass away, they sought alignment. So why take that alignment away from them, right? By saying, no, they shouldn't pass away. So it's really, really beautiful. The part that Patricia and I got reminded of it, because you were talking about the same thing, about this play of the joy of doing what we are doing, experiencing the joy, and take the buffet, right? So enjoy what you're doing. And Patricia touched upon the play of forms, that it's all about the play of forms. Enjoy, and what we can experience, something as very, very real, it actually manifests for us, right? One of the examples that I'll give is I was watching Facebook Watch. There are these people in India, I don't know why it has become like very popular, that people do these foodie shows, like they go visit like a place where they're eating some kind of street food or something, and it's become, and I was kind of like fascinated, why has this become so popular in India? Like there are different people that have a following of 100,000 or million people, but all they're showing is about a food show, right? And one of the food shows is about eating like this all you can eat buffet where they serve things in small little bowls. We call it a thali dinner, right? So I was like, that sounds, and then I got fascinated by the whole thing, and I went, isn't that amazing? I don't know why they don't have something like that in Dallas, right? Then my son goes to visit his grandmother. He comes back and he tells me, oh, my grandmother told me about this restaurant, and that restaurant serves thali dinner. So, you know, it's like that connection that the universe, when we are actually experiencing something with that deep a level of enjoyment, that look at this person, you know, because when they're doing a show, they're like as though they're really enjoying what they're eating, whether it was good tasting or not. I have no idea, right? Because I'm not gone to India and that particular restaurant, but then you get that idea that, oh, maybe that's, and then you can feel it, right? Once you feel it, and this is the whole conscious manifestation that Marla posted, like everything became like a synchronicity, like Michelle is putting in the chat here on Zoom. It became like I've experienced this, and then Marla posts this whole PDF on how to manifest that we are the light and we are the ones that are manifesting. That is the conscious man. It's not about manifesting a Mercedes or manifesting. It's like little things that we are manifesting continuously. We are manifesting what we need. And I felt this very much even in the morning. As soon as we wake up, we are very blank, right? Like in the state that Kelly was talking about his shoelaces, right? We are blank. And then the thought arises, I need to get my lemon water, because we have this thing of giving a half-hour gap. The primary thing is lemon water in the morning. I need to hit my lemon water, right? So I go brush my teeth, I get my lemon water. And the next thought is, now I need to wait half hour. So I can see the manifestation. Out of the thought comes the manifestation, then comes the lemon, and then comes the water, right? Without the thought, they wouldn't have been the manifestation. So it's little things that we manifest. It's not like a huge thing that we are manifesting. And that's the play of forms, right? That we are blank, and then a thought arises, and then we manifest something. We manifest the mango lassi, Patricia, or we manifest the next thing. So it's about little things that we manifest. Ken, did you want to say something about this? And then I'll go to Kelly and Kelly.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, these are excellent, excellent topics. And I agree a lot with what Michelle was saying about the last topic that we were talking about. Really has a lot of death in that whole happening that is happening, and realizing, you know, we're talking about death, and I'm thinking of my son when he died. And I had gone through so much pain, and I had gone through so much earlier in his life, but with the progression of the work that I was doing, when he finally did pass, it was actually easy for me to accept, because I had gone through a lot of the grieving, and I had gone through realizing, even with things that he had told me. And I swear he was in his spirit, because there was one time he says, Dad, I know I'm going to die. I know I'm going to continue what I'm doing. And if I do, it's going to kill me. And he told me, and this isn't, I'm not your responsibility. And I looked at him and I went, what? How did you ever come up with that? He says, I know lots of stuff, and you wouldn't believe me if I told you anyway. But it's just amazing how going through death or going through different episodes in our life, because I do honestly feel I have been going through presence on and off during my life, but I had too many other attachments that were blocking me. So it kept me stuck in unconscious beliefs and realizing that those attachments in so many different ways, the ways that I was thinking and with all the different traumas or the different things that I've gone through, that it had an effect. And realizing that when you meditate, when you pray, when you're sincere about doing the work, when you're in service, helping others, you're on the right path, all of a sudden the magic happens. Things start to shift and downloading of information comes through. It actually explains things. And now more and more and more that I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm interconnected to everything. I can look at a tree. I can look at the water. I can be with a person. I could be driving. I could read a sign, depending on where I'm at within myself, in what level of the different energy fields. Am I calm? Am I relaxed? Am I in presence? Am I in fear? Will all depend on what I'm attracting and what I'm manifesting. So it's just so magical to realize even the people around me. And sometimes people don't understand you. And I've been on that side too, where I didn't understand people. People will project their stuff on you. They'll try to control. They'll try to do whatever they can to be above. And realizing again, I was there. And understanding that going through all these different steps or all these different transitions, what goes around comes around. And when I think I fully understand something, here it comes again. It's kind of a test. And I have seen it so many times that what I thought was the right answer. And that what's helped me to get to that if I start thinking of my thoughts, I'm not my thoughts. And now I'm into awareness, or I say I'm into awareness. I'm aware of things. There's a different part of me. There's a different energy field that what goes around comes around. I understand things, but then I go deeper into a deeper understanding with something much greater than myself. And as Patricia was saying, there's definitely a higher power. There's something greater than me. I now know I'm connected to that, but I also need that when I'm not connected. And that there is something that's helping me to realize that don't try to figure anything out. There's nothing to figure out. Live life to the fullest, as Caesar was saying. Live life to the fullest. Feel good. And it's all on that feel good vibration. We don't have to know anything else. Just feel good. I'm actually experiencing that now. And it's amazing. It was so hard. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is what we're hanging on to the hardest or think about the most. So it's something when you finally let it go, it's like poof. And then all of a sudden, because you let go of that hardness or let go of that static or that fear, that's energy. And then it releases so much that all of a sudden you become lighter and you start to understand things. But that comes with maturity, and it just comes with doing the work. And the right answers, it's like, it isn't like we got the right answers. It just comes when we're ready. And it doesn't, and don't want it. The worst thing I can do if I try to force something or want something, doesn't happen. Let it go. That there's the death. Let go and let it die. That's the old belief system, the old attachments, the old way of being. And when I surrender, when I fully let go, I'm like, don't think of something. And then when you don't think of it, all of a sudden, oh, there it is. It's hard. I have to discipline myself over and over and over. And it's like relapsing my old ways of thinking and whatnot. And an addiction is something where to let go of the addiction is completely let it go, stop thinking, be with like-minded people, don't try to figure it out. Doesn't really matter what it is. It's the same process. Everything is interconnected. So I'm just so thankful. Thank you.
Grateful for you, Ken. Thank you. You know, and the way Dr. Joe Spencer explains it is the more we get into the survival, what Kelly called survival genes or survival mode, our energy contracts like in the first 3 energy centers. So it's like where it should be a 3-meter radius energy field, it contracts. So when you're in fear, that means you're going from contraction to expansion to the 3-meter field where your heart resonance, the torus field is there, right? And you can experience the 3-meter gratitude. You're in that expansive state. So that's what you're talking about. And who could not be in that expansive state when you're with nature, out in the mountains, out driving cross country in the United States of America, the most beautiful country in the world, right? North America.
It is.
So
It's absolutely amazing.
beautiful. Thank you. So
And
Kelly, go ahead. Go
I
ahead. Ken.
just want to say one thing. It's amazing how much comes through. But what I'm really loving is listening to other people. I feel like you're helping me with words, expression, how you explain it. So it's amazing how that all comes together. And it's amazing how many of us, just as Patricia was saying, we're saying the same thing, but we're just expressing it with different words, different experiences. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I
Kelly,
just quickly, just 1 second, Ken, the way you have the camera on your phone, there is a light beams from behind you, and it's almost, yes, like the sun. It's almost what
Right.
you're saying, like this greatness. It's really an illustration
Isn't
of
it?
what you're talking about.
The rays of light. Exactly. And I'm on top of the mountain. And it's like everything is like, I'm like, I know. Thank you for saying that. And that's what's happening. It's like, that's that being interconnected. And the perception tonight, and I feel fantastic all day. And the perception tonight is like, honestly, there isn't one time I've, relapsing. Well, all the other times I was getting aggravated. I couldn't listen. I couldn't. But anyway, everything's, I'm just, thank you, Patricia.
So good.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Kelly, y'all want to wrap it up? Thank
Mhm.
you.
Well, to speak briefly to the whole dying before you die, a lot was said about this, and everything was very well said. It is basically the whole ego death and the death of ego attachment before our physical body passes on or is no longer of constructive use for our soul. And again, the whole theme tonight seems to have been the concept of ego attachment and the letting go of ego attachment. And this is basically the crux of spiritual alchemy and spiritual evolution and spiritual awareness, is actually understanding those moments where we are actually experiencing being in alignment with ourselves, being in observation, being not in ego attachment. Understanding how that feels is incredibly important. And this is why so many teachers talk about the ego death and dying before dying, because that is the whole point. That is the whole point of understanding and realizing true ego death, not just once, but making that in the normal space that we actually operate in and live in. And that is the whole point of actually any type of spiritual discipline, spiritual path. That is the key element, the key space to understand and to work towards. and work towards being in. Because when you understand ego attachment and when you let go of ego attachment, there is no fear of death. And you understand that fear just works through ego attachment. And that is the broken record. And that's why it's so important to understand how to listen and to let yourself feel and to be present with what you're feeling. Because once you begin to understand ego death and ego attachment, you realize it's the same feeling over and over and over again. And when you identify and when you understand that it is that same feeling over and over and over again, and that it's basically a one-trick pony or a broken record, then you can begin to stop yourself even sooner, come into alignment even faster, because you make it normal to feel that space of understanding, of feeling that energy, of that dense energy of ego attachment, that grasping. So that then that's your normal level of awareness. And that's the whole point of having a discipline, of going inside, being present with yourself, and disciplining your mind and your awareness so that you can actually connect to that feeling of observation, of awareness, of how ego attachment has only one note to play. So if you're playing on a piano, right, and ego is going clink, 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 except there's all these other notes to play, you begin to understand the depth of reality is so much vaster, and there's so much more to your own personal experience than just that one singular broken note that your ego and your shadow want you to focus on. So all of our experiences are designed to give us contrasts and to give us these opportunities to learn how to listen and how to feel what's in our heart versus the pressure from our programming, so that we can constantly discipline ourselves, step into observation, and make that normal and normalize it even further by letting ourselves feel and letting ourselves be at peace without any ego attachment.
Anything from Kelly?
No. I actually enjoyed listening to everyone, and I don't really have anything that would be new to say. I have enjoyed listening to everyone. I agree with a lot of what everyone said. So
What's on your t-shirt, Kelly?
Oh, this is an honor t-shirt from when the Grandmaster of 10 Animal Shingi Lohe Chin, or 10 Animal 6 Harmony Shingi Boxing came to Canada. About I don't know, is there a date on here?
1999.
1999.
No, very unique.
So this is a silhouette of a picture, from a picture. So this is like how low to the ground he could actually get. He could literally get like a couple inches off the ground and then explode outward with his whole body. So whole body training, whole body, mind, intention. Shingi is basically translates as mind, body, intention boxing. So
Incredible.
Thank you. I learned something new too about that. Always like your stories. Thank you so much.
my pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone, and infinite gratitude, and cannot thank you all enough. And to Christina, Corina, Edith, Louise was online, and Summer. So another was listening to us while we were giving the responses. So she agreed with quite a few of the statements. So she has received what we have stated. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening, everyone, or fantastic day, and see you all next week. Many blessings. Bye. Good
Thank you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.